Okay, we're back out in my messy garage, so please excuse the mess here, but this is where my big table is for me to work on stuff. So what I did is I've taken it out of the hoop. I've ironed out the hoop burn. You want to try and get those out as soon as you can. You don't want to leave your quilt in the hoop very long and get that hoop burn out of there. So this one's all done. All I did is I basically took the panel, sewed on the borders, and then I did a sandwich with some batting and backing, and then I didn't stitch it down at all. I just pinned it all the way around to keep it. That way I can make sure I keep it smooth. I did another one where I stitched in the ditch all the way around to hold it, and then I found out I had too much slack in here, so when I was trying to do all of this, I get wrinkles in it. So this way I can take the pins out, I can reflatten it back down and make sure everything's nice and flat and smooth, both front and back. On this one here, you can see in the back, you can see the stippling that's come through, looks very nice. I'm not really too worried about back of quilts. You know, this is not a showpiece, it's just a wall hanging. On the back, I use the invisible thread, so I don't have to worry about colors. I don't have to worry about color coming up through. Sometimes your tensions aren't right, and you'll see the color coming up through, especially on this light stuff. So I like to just use invisible thread. I put that on my bobbin, it works really good. This metallic thread worked really well. I have one of those things called I believe it's called a thread director, and I'll show you in a minute here. It mounts on my machine, and it keeps my spools from my metallic thread coming out straight. If it comes off the spool in a swirl, it'll start getting in knots and have all kinds of problems. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hoop up the next square, and I think what I'll do is probably do one of these side squares. So since I just took this one out of there, I'm pretty good on my size. I basically look at how thick the quilt is, kind of get a gauge and kind of figure out, okay, what is my gap in here? Is it going to be about the same size? So you can see on this one, I'm going to kind of want to get it right about in there. So I'll pull the top one out. Just want to make sure you guys can see all this. Yeah, you can. I'll tilt this up just a little bit. So I'm going to slide the bottom part of the hoop underneath. Got to make sure that pin's not going to end up in anything, so I'll just move it out of the way for right now. Yeah, I'll just put it here for a second. And we'll slide it in a little bit. I'm just feeling where the hoop is to make sure that this whole square, you saw what I did earlier, is going to have to be in there. So that looks like that's going to work fine. I've got my up end that way. If I can feel my groove right there, I get that down in there and just push it down in. You can see it's not extremely tight right now. I don't want to put too much pressure on that hoop. And then I just reach underneath and I just hand tighten it just a little bit to where I can't hand tighten it. Once I get it hand tightened, I'm just pushing the upper hoop into the lower hoop and making sure it's all set in there. I don't push it down too much, just enough to set it. And then I'll take this in with my screwdriver in there and we'll tighten it up a little bit. So let's go back in, we'll scan this one and we'll do one more, and then I'll show you when it's all done. Okay, welcome back real quick. I just wanted to show you that thread director. That's it. It just kind of screws in with these little thumb screws right onto the bobbin winder. And that way my metallic thread unspools this way and it goes straight through into the first stage here. I don't run it up through this clip here. We just run it straight through, around, and thread normally. Of course, the automatic threader is not going to work on it. You have to thread it by hand. But it seems to work really well. It allows this to come off naturally the way that it was wound, so you don't get the twirls in it. When you have it come off vertical, you'll get the twirls in it, and that's what causes it to get kinked and tied up and bound up, and then it breaks. So far it's working pretty good. Okay, everybody, we got the next one all scanned in and ready to go. I'm just going to make this a little bit darker so it's easy to see, and we'll go through this one more time. So the first thing we're going to want to do is to set the outside boundaries. So we're going to go to the line properties. We're going to choose no stitch, and the reason we want the no stitch is we're not stitching these lines. They're just boundary lines to tell it where we want it to stipple. So that's why it won't let you choose a color. So if I choose a stitch, then I can choose a color. So right now we're going to choose no stitch. I'm going to use the line tool, and then what we're going to do is do the same thing again. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, drag up into the upper corner. I'm going to touch, and I'm just going to drag straight down. Okay, and then I'm going to drop down to here, and I'm just going to touch the corner. I'm holding on it. I'm not letting go until I get it to where I want it to go, then I let go. I go over here, there, until I let go. Now again, you don't have to be exactly perfect. You're just setting a boundary, but you know, you want to be pretty close. So you can see that probably right there, the panel's not exactly straight and square and true, but it's going to be fine. So we're going to go back over here. So I'm going to touch about an inch or so away, drag it over until I get close and let go, and it'll snap right to it. So the outer one is done. So now it's time to do the inner one. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to box out for the pot, the trunk, and the tree stars here. So we'll start at the top of the tree, and I'm going to use the same line tool. And like I say, I don't have to be perfect. I'm just going to get pretty close. Every time you want to move, you're going to have to move in the upper right hand screen, because if you touch this screen, you're going to be drawing. So we'll go to there, and we'll go to there, we'll go to there, and I'm going to take this to the trunk, and I'm going to take it down. I'm not going to worry about the bow. I'm just going to come out here. I'm not going to worry about the curves and everything. I'm just getting it to where it's on the outside of it. You can even see there I kind of cut the corner a little bit, but that's going to be okay. We're going to go to here. That should close it, which it did. So now you can see what we got. Got our outer box and our inner box. Everything else is going to be stippling. So now we're going to go into the region properties. We're going to stick with the red. We're going to stick with the stippling. Now, we can go into here and we can choose other stipplings. So let's take a look at it and see what it's going to look like with this one. We can hit OK. And we hit OK. You come to here, you can see that's what I have selected right there. And we go fill. So that's what it's going to do on that one. That one actually looks pretty good for this one. So let's see what it looks like. We can go into here. This, I think, is the spacing. So size 100%. Let's take it down to 50, and we'll see what it does. It's set. This is the angle, what the angle is running at. And outline. Do we want an outline? So right now it's on. So let's see what it looks like. So there's, you can see it's drawing the outline. So probably what we'll do is probably do no outline. So let's go to return. Let's go to here, let's turn the outline off. We'll set that. Let's leave the angle where it's at. Let's take this up to back to 100 and see what it looks like. So it sets it bigger, and what it's going to do is it's going to end. You see it's got these gaps. So I'm not sure. See, I'd rather have it do that. So let's go back one more time. We'll go down to here and let's take it down to 85 and set it and see what it does. I've never done this one, so this is all new to me, so I'm trying to figure it out as we go along here. And I'm not sure I'm going to like that part. So we're going to go back again. And you can do this over and over again and kind of figure out where you want it to. Let's go. So we'll only let me go to 50. The max is 150. Let's set that and see what happens. Oh, that's nice and big. So let me mess with this for a little bit so I'm not, running too long here, and I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. We got it all kind of figured out. What I ended up having to do, you can't save as you're working in IQ. The only time you can save is really when you get into embroidery. So what I had to do is I had to start all over again, rescan it. I adjusted my outside boundary so I can get these stitches to end right at the red line. I was really short last time. I'm still a little short here, but I'm not going to worry about it. What I did find out is that it was easier to draw the outside square, then do the stippling, see how it looked, and then I drew the inside star part, and then I filled it with a no stitch, and it erased what was covering everything. I hope that you can understand that. If not, I'd be happy to help you with it. So this is ready to go. It looks really good. Our settings were, let's see, 175, 0. If you change the angle, it just changes the angle of it. And then my outline is off. So we're good. I'm gonna go ahead and go to set. I'm gonna go to embroidery, and we're gonna embroider it out, and then we'll be back. Okay, this one is done. I really like it. It turned out really well. The silver really shows. It's a triple stitch, so it really gives it a nice thick stitch. Stitched out really, really well. I'm very pleased with it. It's the first time I've ever done this stippling. So I'm going to do all these different panels and different stipplings and see how they come out. And then I've got another one just exactly like it to do, and I think I'll do that one maybe just all the same stippling, but we'll see. So I will continue on doing this, and I'll film little different parts here and there, and we'll see how it goes.